Hi. Hello, as I film this, this is the 22nd of February 2025. In this moment, I'm 32 years old. I'm actually filming this in my childhood bedroom. There's the mirrors. Today's video is more for myself. I'm looking back on what I would call a diary entry from 5 years ago. Today is the 22nd of February 2020. Hello. Hi. Yep. Hi. Hi. So I wear glasses. I still wear glasses. I can live without my glasses, but my eyes get tired and I can tell the difference when I'm not wearing them. But I'm also finding that although I can't use contact lenses, and I never have been able to use them, my brain does get overstimulated by my own glasses, so I'm continuously taking them off. I've had these for about 3 years now and I love them. I don't want another set. I want to push these for as long as I can. So that's me in my art studio, which looks quite messy if I'm honest. But yeah, I did live in chaos, and I still do. But my canvas is behind me with my easel. I've had a bad day. I can't actually remember why that day was bad specifically, if I'm honest. But yeah, a bad day, but it's one of many bad days that are sort of all connected together, which is why my head is in a conundrum, because I can't seem to fix the stuff that's making me unhappy. I think right now in my life there are several huge, big problems, some of which are so big that I don't know how to tackle, and because I can't tackle them or succeed in defeating them or controlling them, perhaps, I can't move forwards. I'm going to pause it there. So a few big things. At the time I was filming this, I believed I was autistic and ADHD. At the time the NHS was still gaslighting me that I was depressed and anxious, like I wasn't autistic or ADHD. And I was also dating someone who was autistic, who didn't believe I was autistic, because not all autistic people are the same, but they didn't think I was. So there I am sitting trying to talk about my brain whilst being aware that I can't talk about my difficulties from those perspectives because everyone around me will tear into me, potentially my own partner as well. Lots of the things throughout this video will anger me because I'm censoring my own self to please everybody else and just I know the last few years people have said that I am contributing to the stigma against mental health because I myself have stopped talking. One of the reasons I did stop making videos is because life became so unbearable. I'm not saying all of this because I want attention. If anything, I don't want attention because I'm not happy with my life right now. I actually do want people to look the other way and leave me alone until I'm in a good place. And also because how on earth am I supposed to even talk about my own life from the perspective of what I believe it to be when I don't have any sort of backing from the healthcare service? See? I'm just... See, there, right there. That is me wanting to talk about being neurodivergent and I can't. Oh, it makes me angry. I can, yes. There's a lot of outdated stuff in this, as well as censored stuff. I didn't understand autism and ADHD as much as I do now, and even now I feel I've got lots to learn. I can be hit and miss. Sometimes I can be super confident, and other times I can be such a nervous wreck that I can't talk. And then as soon as that happens, at this point I was starting to understand that I was masking. It was so much easier and safer for me to open up when I was a kid, when I was a tween, when I was a teenager, when I was a student, when I was self-employed. I think lots of people, regardless of neurodiversity, understand this. So when you become an adult, lots of things are harder to do. You cannot be as open and honest as you'd like to be because of life. The next thing is kids. Oh my gosh, kids. Right, go back. Do I want kids? Do I feel capable of physically having kids? That's another story. Does James want kids? Because it's not just a singular decision. Are we ready to be parents when we can't even look after ourselves? I would say the start of 2020, specifically just before the big stuff happened that year, I felt an inkling to be a mother. Over the course of a few years, I was a photographer at a swimming pool and I photographed tons of babies. And specifically at that point, after say 900 families, is the last time in my brain I refer to myself as being broody. I've not felt like this before, and it didn't last. Having children is a massive topic and I won't cover everything today, but it's interesting to see my younger self talking about kids before she's really understood about neurodivergence. Like even then, I wasn't thinking neurodivergence, I was thinking autism, ADHD, as opposed to neurotypicals and neurodivergence. There's a few things back then that I still feel the same about. So for example, I don't think that I can have fun and conceive. I don't think I can carry. I don't think I can birth a child. I don't think I'll recover from the trauma of it all. I mean that seriously. I mean, there's the whole, you need to be in a relationship with somebody and then decide whether or not you want to have kids with that person, because you can find the love of your life and you aren't compatible as parents, or your life isn't compatible with being a parent. But the big thing, I want to be assessed and diagnosed with ADHD and be processing the decades of trauma, or get to a point where I feel a bit more stable post being allowed to be what I am and deal with what I deal with, before I even think about becoming a parent. I'd like a life first. But I don't think it's all going to sync up, because by the time that happens, I'll be in my 40s. I do feel like I've missed the boat with kids. I've missed the boat with finding love, I feel. But as for kids, it's gone. That's painful. That's a difficult one. I just don't know. Basically, around the 8-minute mark, I start talking about careers and things I want to do, etc. Jobs and income is another terrifying topic for me, because I deal with financial anxiety, have done since I was a child, but there's different contributing factors, but being autistic especially is one. I don't think I have a career. In summary, being neurodivergent but not knowing so killed my working life. Me being open about my mental health is a career killer. Basically here I'm talking about being a neurodivergent person who can't navigate job applications, job interviews, and the workplace. So I know part of my lack of progress has been my own fault. I'm trying really hard to function as a neurodivergent person in a neurotypical world, and it's not working. Things were really bad. So bad. Way worse than what I'm saying it is. It was bad. So bad. I mean, the state of my flat shows that things weren't great. And even now it has a major impact and I'm terrified. The year before I shot this, I'd actually been at the job centre, and I'd been in a scenario with people of authority over me who were telling me that I wasn't working hard enough and that everybody struggles, and that my struggles were not valid because I wasn't backed up legally by a diagnosis. You're not diagnosed. From the sounds of it, your doctors aren't even listening to you, so grow up, Miss Brown. Get on with it. It was horrible, but I don't really feel like I can do any more. What I was talking about there overall, I suppose, is the isolation where things are not working, and I'm trying my best, and I'm trying to hide a lot of the difficulties that I'm dealing with, but I can't, because they're not just temporary difficulties. Like, we all struggle. They're long-term difficulties, if not lifelong, and they're getting worse, not better. You get to that level whereby you're just so restricted by your own brain. I'm not functioning, but what am I supposed to do? And it's frightening because I feel like I'm stuck. Right here, I'm dancing around that subject. I think confidence has definitely been a massive problem. Confidence, self-esteem, low self-esteem, anxiety. I'm not anxious and dealing with anxiety. I'm neurodivergent and I can't read signs and I can't communicate, or I don't make eye contact, which comes across as rude. I feel like there's no conclusion to this because I'm already trying beyond my capabilities and I'm not getting anywhere. I wasn't bringing in enough income. It didn't matter what I was doing, how much I was working. I had 5 jobs at one point. No time off. Any days off I used in other jobs. Well, I don't have funds. I need to pay my bills and I'm struggling to do that. Shortly after I shot this video, I actually had to get a mortgage holiday because I wasn't earning due to COVID, and then we didn't get the grants at the time when everything was exploding. I was exhausted. I wasn't coping. And the sad thing is nothing's changed there. I am still struggling to the same extent I did there. I feel like it's not that things are better now, I just understand myself better. And I know in the last 2 years I've been trying desperately to find opportunities that are even at the bottom of ladders I wish to climb, and it's impossible. Okay, this is painful. It's not that I'm lying here, but as I'm talking, I'm also aware within my own self of my own restrictions and limitations, and it's only got worse since. So I'm sort of talking about pipe dreams. I definitely think by the end of my 20s, I'd learned that I was never going to work and do anything I actually enjoy, or I am using my creativity. Work is just to provide an income. Like, that dream has been stamped out of me. I think my creativity, what's left of it, should be reserved for myself. There's a spark in here somewhere. Is it a spark? I'd like to think there's a spark, but there isn't. Is it also just getting older? The world beats the life out of you. So as a younger person, you have dreams, you have the energy and the capability, you haven't the experience of how bad life can be. So going back to one of the reasons why I shot this, I was trying to outline lots of problems within my life and why I was so frustrated and what I need to work on, etc. But sadly, in life I've learned it doesn't matter how hard you work, sometimes you're just lucky. Over the next year or so, I would apply to hundreds of jobs and get nowhere. But all in all, the job I am in, I didn't get due to job applications and job interviews. It's freelance, it's like a rolling contract. I'm earning well, but it could stop at any time. And of course, it's now 4 years. But all in all, the job I'm in is one of the reasons why things are very different now to 5 years ago. And I'm grateful. I've been able to put money aside. I've paid off my mortgage. Life's odd, it can change. Life is different. I was introduced to a hate forum. And oh, I forgot Oh, Beck. I mean, something someone wrote about me about my failure of a life is what spurs them to do better. I don't want to hear that bit. I know what I'm going to say. Okay, so 2020, I was reading them. I was addicted. It was a horrible time. I've been addicted for years by that stage. No amount of therapy helped me with the gossip forums. Like, the therapists were basically just saying, don't read. That's not a solution, is it? It's not just the forums, it's a ton of trauma I have from stuff surrounding it and connecting to it. Like stalking, threats, harassment, people doxed my address, all that stuff. Some of it I just... The last time I read them was June or July of 2022. But I don't read and I have broken that addiction. But I think there's some other contributing factors to that which have enabled me to do so. So for example, my job is private. Having a job where everyone knows where you work is not great, but even in my 20s I tried to hide where I was working. People knew. It is easy to forget what you go through and how acceptable stuff was, and I've been diagnosed as autistic since I last read. I've wanted to know how things have changed, and they are never going to change, are they? But there's over a decade of stuff where people are attacking me for basically dealing with disability. But because I wasn't diagnosed, it was okay. Wasn't okay, but you know what I mean? It was acceptable, it was legal. They could legally tear into me, whereas now, I'm going to move on. But by the time I was finally given my first, it didn't matter to me anymore. I was trying to distance myself from education as quickly and as harshly as possible. Okay. Since making this video, I do feel like society talks more about my generation as millennials. Talking about us back then as millennials wasn't really the thing, whereas now I'd sit and go, as a millennial, we were brought up in a world where we were taught if we worked hard, we would be rewarded, or we'd be able to buy a house, or we'd be able to do all the things our parents did because they were able to do so, blah de blah. I mean, my parents got married in the 80s. It was an entirely different world. For myself, I kind of thought once I got through education, I'd be able to breathe, but no, life is not like that. If anything, education's the light-hearted part. It just gets worse from there. So if I feel like failure is on the horizon, I shut down. Failure is not an option. Okay, so here I'm talking about trauma responses, basically. I have learned, I've been conditioned across my lifetime, that it doesn't matter what I do, how hard I try, I fail. I'm so broken and bruised by everything, and nothing I do makes me feel better. Like, I can't recover from that trauma because it's being reinforced what feels like every day of my life. And failure is surrounding me, even when I try, that it's just making it even harder to try and move forwards. Yeah, it makes everything 10 times worse. I just get continuous rejection, continuous no's, or if I think that everything is going okay, it then blows up in my face later. I'm far more traumatised now than I was there. Oh, goodness. I got it first at the end of my education at the expense of my physical and mental health. No. That bit makes me angry because it's not just your physical and mental health. Like, I was a neurodivergent person navigating education and I got through, and I cannot believe I did that. I look back and I'm like, how? I mean, I can see how. There's a whole list of reasons. But my brain hurts. So it's difficult here because my brain, even now, struggles to tell the difference between some aspects of being autistic and ADHD and mental health, like depression, anxiety, what's what. And also, what is burnout? Because even then, burnouts wasn't a really big term within my brain, but there's also neurodivergent and neurotypical burnout. I don't think I could have been diagnosed as autistic or ADHD before the age of 18. I can see why everything was the way that it was, but ADHD did come up at 18. I could have been diagnosed many years earlier. Like, it didn't need to be in my 30s and 40s. I'll probably get the support I need in my 40s, but I could have had it in my 20s. We could have saved 20 odd years of life. Oh, like if she'd been diagnosed there, what support she could have had. Rejection is a part of life, but the amount of rejection I receive, it's like I just need a whole bunch of yeses in a short period of time to go, oh my goodness, failure doesn't, it's not a constant. Failure is a constant. I'd love to sit here and be an optimistic type of person, but I'm not, I never have been. But 5 years on, rejection, failure, and I also need a holiday. So COVID hit and we had all those lockdowns. Now lockdown wasn't a holiday, but for neurodivergent people, not that I knew that back then in the way that I understand it now, it was a breath of fresh air. I was allowed to exist as a neurodivergent person. The social interaction cut down dramatically, so I was able to de-mask and look after myself. It was amazing. I mean, it wasn't an amazing time, but as a person dealing with disability who needed a break, it was a good time to breathe. It wasn't a holiday. And I still don't feel like I've had a holiday. Holidays are not a part of my life. I don't know what it's like to go on holiday. I don't know what it's like to book one. I don't know what it's like to even look forward to having a holiday. In 2023, my ex-situationship took me to Scotland as his +1. In 2024, I went to Wales to do some kayaking and then stayed there for a couple of days. So I'd say they are forms of holidays. I don't know what it's like to relax, because my brain has been in survival mode for what feels like forever. So my brain doesn't allow myself to step back and do things for myself and enjoy things. I think the only thing I let up on is kayaking. Yes, I'm fully aware of burnout. I don't tend to take time off. I don't take breaks, I just go and go. Part of that is due to financial anxiety. I overworked myself because I know what it's like to not earn, because I was struggling then, working and not earning enough, so I try to work when there is work, and I overwork myself. Also, there's the topic of migraines. This was 2020. My migraines were continuously getting worse from 17 to 30. Like, it was on a steady decline or steady increase. And it was terrifying because I was increasingly unwell and I shouldn't have been working, but what am I supposed to do? Because there's no recognition of how difficult migraines are. I had no recognition of being autistic. I had to carry on. And the correlation was suggesting it was going to get worse. You know, I was probably going to end up in hospital, and I did start ending up in hospital. So I just carried on, and I still carry on. I'm trying to earn as much as I can whilst I can, because the job can stop at any time, but also I don't know what's going to happen in terms of my neurodivergence and migraines situation. So I just carry on. She is one of the reasons I'm doing things in the way that I am. I'm not just doing things and not thinking them through. If I was to sit in 5 years' time and look back at myself, I do recognise that some of the ways in which I'm living my life currently are not sustainable. If you were in my position, you'd take advantage of what you've got. I don't see another choice. I don't see a way out of what I'm doing. There's no support for me. I have to be self-sustaining. So it's like a form of self-care. I don't have a partner. I can't rely on anyone financially. I recognise I'm in my parents' house. That's a complicated topic, but I'm financially separate from my parents, and I want to be. I didn't want to move home. This has sort of happened. Big topic, move on. Let's not get too bogged down in that, shall we? So here we get to the part of the video where I start doing a list, all the things I need to improve or work on, etc., like a summary. So for me this year, there are 3 things I would love. 3 things, is that all? I need more experience. Okay, pause. I did. I got an apprenticeship, but I couldn't cope. It was too much. Managing all sorts of jobs, and the apprenticeship was unpaid, but I couldn't cope as an autistic person. Build up my art this year. I've got much better. I mean, within a couple of months of this video, I got an iPad, which is here. Look at that. Over the last 5 years, this has become my primary medium. But it's become a realistic way of maintaining my love of arts and creating when I'm unwell so frequently, be it with neurodivergent burnout, the migraines, how unwell I can be and how often it happens. I'd say work on my health, but I need funds for that. Don't have the funds. But work on anxiety in particular. That makes me angry. A neurodivergent person can be anxious, but there's a big difference between being neurodivergent and only dealing with anxiety. I need to sort of rebuild the confidence that I am lacking. Not rebuild the confidence, it's myself that I'm not a failure, and that even though I don't feel like I've made progress, I evidently have in certain areas of my life. This is hard because there's stuff within what I'm saying that I agree with and I don't agree with, but I can't splice it up. We always need to work on ourselves. There's always something we can improve on. Always try to be a better version of yourself, learn, grow, etc. Yes. But for me and other people like me, I spent nearly 30 years of my life being told there was something wrong with me, or that I wasn't functioning in the way that I need to, or should be. I had to eradicate all the bad stuff about me, and because I wasn't capable of doing so, I was a failure, I was a bad person. So I'm not a failure. That doesn't mean that I don't have complex feelings about it all. Even now I feel upset and angry. At least now I have the confidence within my own self to say, I'm autistic and I believe I deal with ADHD. I can sit here today and say that and not feel like the ceiling's gonna come toppling down on top of me. I also know that I'm not alone and that there's so many people that are in exactly the same situation as me and struggling. I know that I'm not alone, but that doesn't help. I'm also quite privileged in that I have my own home that I'm holding onto by the skin of my teeth. That's a tough topic, and one I would love to dive into. Buying my home, I didn't even factor in autism and ADHD. If I had been diagnosed before then, would I have bought my home? Probably not. I bought my home, I got in, I struggled for years, and then as I've said, the last 4 years have been different, but by golly, that I have my own home. Doesn't mean my other struggles are invalid though. That does not invalidate the negatives within my life. Oh, I said it there as well. Even now I can say that I'm privileged because I've been able to come back to my parents. I mean, I'm technically paying out on 2 properties currently, but not everybody has that ability to go back home. There's also the privilege of my parents still being alive and I can spend more time with my parents. I don't have a partner, I don't get to do a lot of things I want in my life, but I still have my parents. One day I want to look back at this period and go, you silly thing, in the same way that I look back at my 17-year-old self. I feel like she was stupid. More naive than stupid. So she's not stupid or naive. Even uneducated as a word is too strong. She there is stuck in a broken system that is the healthcare service, and I'm completely on my own. I have so much more experience. I have even more experience now. I hate hindsight. I hate hindsight. Yeah, I hated it then, I hate it now. There was no conclusion. There is no conclusion, really. Let's just turn off the computer and walk away. As I say, sometimes people don't get that when you stop a camera or when you log off from the internet or you just keep yourself to yourself, the problems still carry on. Going offline, I mean, you're still within your own body, you're still within your own life. Disabling the internet isn't the solution unless the internet is the problem. So yeah, this is an insight into my brain. So now I've got to the end of the video, but there's other stuff I just want to say, loads of different things. Later that year I started a Grateful Things project and I then reviewed that project in 2022. It was a bad time. The amount of resilience I had. No one came to pick me up, no one saved the day. Everything was me, just trying. I would say I was surviving. I wouldn't even say I was living, I was just getting through. There was no care, there was no support, there was no one to reach out to, no one who would listen. It's all very well saying, you know, reach out for help, etc., but sometimes there isn't any help. Like when I would go to my doctors, they wouldn't listen. All the therapy sessions I did weren't supportive because they weren't designed with neurodivergence in mind, so everything I was doing was actually acting against what I was dealing with. I just want to give my younger self a hug. I had to be my own white knight and saviour, and even now I still feel like that. No one's coming. There's lots of things you can learn about yourself looking back, but as for this, I just find it to be a really interesting time capsule, looking at life from the perspective of pre-diagnosed me. I've got other difficulties now. I mean, I feel like I'm dealing with skill regression. It's one of the reasons I'm wearing no makeup. Also, I decided not to wear makeup because I wasn't wearing makeup there. I have tinted lip balm. This is what I look like. I mean, I've put a bra on and I've dressed up as opposed to sitting here in pyjamas, but this is me today. I could have made myself more presentable, but as some rounding remarks, I know some people will relate to that video, but also relate to how I am in this one. Life isn't always what we expect it to be and things don't always go to plan, but also we can learn quite late in life why things have gone as badly as they have. And sometimes it's not a case of, okay, we know why things were difficult, let's remedy everything and have a wonderful life. The difficulties still carry on. And that can be quite scary. Like here I am, not even through the other side yet. I'd love to sit here and say that everything's okay and I'm diagnosed correctly finally with everything and I'm recovering post decades of trauma, but I'm not there yet. I'm definitely much further on with the neurodivergent journey and battle with the healthcare service. It feels like it's never ending and you just kind of have to carry on. But as for my future self who has been assessed and I believe diagnosed, hi. I want to be in a better situation in terms of being allowed to be what I am, that legal recognition. I want to be able to be what I am, entirely. Maybe one day, I'd love to hope so. If I have to end this on a positive, This isn't toxic positivity. My hair was short there. Something I was slowly starting to understand back then and have done increasingly so the last 5 years, which has been a good thing, is understanding the correlations between trichotillomania and being neurodivergent, how trich can be a stim. I believe that's one of the reasons why I've been able to grow my hair and, more importantly, keep it for the most part. It's still been a complicated journey, but I have hair. Like, things have been so much better hair-wise. That version of myself couldn't even imagine having hair. So hello past me. I made it. I did it. I hope this video doesn't come across as doom and gloom. I mean, things are better than they have been. I am grateful that I have moved on from that version of myself, that time. I mean, things only got worse, didn't they? So things were actually better there than what they were about to be. But even so, I'm not her now, and I'm glad I'm not. This has been a very random, elongated diary entry. I'll leave it there.